Have you seen the Easter myths yet? So every year, this happens, and every year it's just as dumb as the year before. Somebody online will post, did you know that Easter is actually a pagan holiday? It's celebrating, who is it celebrating? Have you heard this? Ishtar. Ishtar or Ostera. So one of those two, the German pagan goddess Ostera or Ishtar, such and such. Not even remotely true. Historically, it doesn't line up at all. Easter is a different word. Just because two words sound the same doesn't mean that they come from the same place. What's more, Easter is not even the traditional term to use for the resurrection. Do you guys know what the term for the resurrection for this season traditionally was as Christians? It begins with a P. Pascha. Pascha, or Paschal Lamb. You've heard of the Paschal Lamb? It's the Pascha. So even if you wanted to say, well, technically Easter is just ripping off the pagans by taking their goddess Ostera or Ostre or Ishtar and turning it into Easter, well, it doesn't work because traditionally Christians just called it the Pascha. Pascha. So even if your entire argument is that Easter is based off of this other thing, it doesn't work. Easter is just what we call it, the English word. There is no historic proof to show that Ishtar or Ostera or Oestra is related to Easter. Yes, sir?
Just all of a sudden, it's translated in the Bible, Easter.
Mm-hmm.
Where did they get the phrase from?
For Easter, do they use the word Easter in the Bible? I'm not sure.
Look it up, but I could swear
They use
in the Old King
Paschal.
It says
Yeah,
Easter.
it might. I'd have to look up the specific verse to find what the Greek word is. The Greek word is Pascha. That is the word. But yeah, so Easter is not, just in the same way that Christmas is not secretly celebrating the birth of Odin or Mithras or any of these other pagan gods or whatever. Easter is not a celebration of pagan gods being taken over. Now, is it a coincidence that Easter, which happens to be in spring, is also the same time of year that a lot of spring pagan festivals happen? Like, the rest of the world notices that flowers bloom in spring, and there's a lot of butterflies in spring, and the rabbits are out in droves in spring. So it's no surprise that the rest of the world, the pagans also come up with holidays during like the spring solstice or the spring May Day or stuff like that. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Christians are stealing the pagan holidays and trying to conquer them as our own. Now, that does happen to some degree sometimes, and I'm sorry, you lost the fight, we win as Christians. Our holiday reigns supreme. But for Christmas and Easter, this is not that we just took a pagan holiday and said, let's just turn it into a Christian holiday. I'm sorry, the Bible existed long before any of these pagan traditions were even acknowledged.
There are some traditions in the South Mexico area where there's a lot of pagan traditions that are interwoven into Catholicism.
Yes, and this is a big problem that we have in Central. Is Mexico Central America? North, south, whatever. So everything around the Mexico area, and I mean it bleeds into California and Arizona and stuff as well. One of the popular religions is Santeria. And Santeria is basically, it's just witchcraft. It's just kind of the Mexican version of witchcraft. And this has been combined with sort of Roman Catholicism. And a lot of times they have this sort of invocation of the saints is tied in with the witchcraft. There's a lot of the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. This is not a Christian tradition. Day of the Dead is not a Christian tradition where all of the ghosts of your children walk through the streets and you paint sugar skulls to mark the way. And this is a pagan tradition that was, I don't want to say it was necessarily Christianized, but the term is syncretism, is when Christianity comes into an area and they say, rather than get rid of the religion in the area, why don't we just rename some of your gods and then you can keep your traditions and we just call them Christian from now on. Now, this is going to put a finger in somebody's eye, maybe not in this congregation, but the Virgin de Guadalupe is one of these things, where this guy was in the field picking flowers, and behold, he saw a vision of a woman, and the woman told him to do all this stuff, and then there's all these paintings of the Virgin de Guadalupe. And they say, well, this is actually Mary appeared to this guy and told him to do all these ceremonies and rites and special prayers and festivals and all this other stuff. And we basically, I mean, a lot of these Marian apparitions, unfortunately, the Virgin Day, or the, what's the one in, it's not Iraq, I forget. There's an Arabic one as well. Every once in a while, somebody will say, hey, the Virgin appeared to me, the Virgin Mary appeared to me out here, and she says that you have to do this special thing. One of the examples is, there's something called a miraculous medal. Have you heard of it? Oh, you're nodding your head. Yes, miraculous medal. So there is, and this is kind of one of the things that the Roman Catholic Church winks and nods at, but doesn't officially sell, but kind of endorses, that the Virgin Mary appeared to some woman and gave this woman a design for a coin that she could make, a medal that she could make. The Virgin said, okay, here are the design specifications. Now you wear this medal around your neck, or you keep it in your pocket at all times, and it'll protect you from harm. It's a good luck charm. But you have to make it in this design, and you have to copyright the design, and you have to make money off of it. Isn't it interesting that, that she appeared to a woman to help her make so much money? Yes, sir.
So I brought it up.
Yeah.
King James said after Easter.
After Easter. What verse is that?
In the New King, or not New King, the English Standard Version.
Yeah.
It says Passover.
It says after Passover. Okay. Yeah, and the English Standard Version is going to be working with different manuscripts than the King James is. So it would be a different. It might be a different Greek word in both of them. In any case, it doesn't make a huge difference. We know what it's talking about, but yeah. So the miraculous medal is one of these things where there's a Marian apparition to a very special woman, and the special woman gets to make all kinds of money selling this miraculous good luck charm to all kinds of people. And this is something that happens a lot of times. A lot of people will talk about the cult of the saints as actually a continuation of the Greco-Roman polytheism. So way back in the day, you got Zeus. Who's seen the movie Hercules, the cartoon? Of course, the most accurate depiction of Greek, not Roman. The most accurate. Well, if it was actually Greek, he would have been called Heracles. But but you've got gods and demigods who are in charge of all kinds of different things. So, for example, you would have Ares. Ares is the god of war. The god of war. You would have Zeus. Zeus is the god of storms, lightning bolts, that sort of thing. Hephaestus is the god of the forge. Neptune is the god of, or Poseidon, excuse me. Neptune would be the Roman version. Poseidon is the god of the sea. So you'd have gods who were in charge of different things. You'd have gods who were in charge of hospitality. I forget her name. The goddess of the hearth at home. You'd have gods in charge of sickness and healing. What was that? Hestia, the goddess of the hearth and hospitality. Who is it Mercury who's in charge? Or not Mercury, I keep getting the Roman and the Greek names mixed up. Hermes, is he the one who's in charge of medicine? He's got the staff, I think so. He's a messenger, and he's the one who's also in charge of medicine. So anyway, so you've got these different gods who are in charge of different sort of things. Now, what happens is, a lot of the Roman Catholics, I mean, this isn't just a Roman Greek idea. The pagan god in charge of such and such is sort of in charge of fertility, in charge of the harvest, in charge of the sun. This is common in any sort of pagan culture, and a lot of this is what we would say maybe this is the reason for the cult of the saints, because now you have Joseph. Saint Joseph is the patron saint of fathers. He's the patron saint of selling your house, too. If you have a St. Joseph statue, you bury it upside down in the ground in front of your house, your property will sell faster. This is, I wish I was making it up, but when my parents when they bought their house, they found a St. Joseph statue upside down so it must have worked. So there's another, this is wild. St. Joseph is the patron saint of lost things. And you can buy a St. Joseph statue where he's holding baby Jesus, and you take away baby Jesus from him and you hide it in the base of the statue until you can find the thing that you've lost. So you deprive Joseph of Jesus, because he lost him in the temple. So you hold Jesus ransom until Joseph finds your lost thing for you, which is wild. Saint Lawrence. Saint Lawrence is one of my favorites because he's the patron saint of wiseacres. He's a patron saint of smart alecks and comedians. And he was the one who they were grilling him. They were killing him. He died a martyr. They were killing him on the grill, and his last words were, "Flip me over. I'm done on this side." So his last words are snark. Therefore, But you see how you've got the patron saint of fireballs, and the patron saint of Apollo is the god of the sun, and then you've got the patron saint of such and such, and you just have replaced the religion with different things. There's a patron saint, and Martin Luther talked about this as he was listing the ridiculous saints. He said, there's a patron saint of toothaches, for crying out loud. And I don't remember who it was, but he said, this guy's in charge of toothaches, and this guy if you've lost your keys, and this guy if you've lost your money, and this guy if you've done this, or this guy if you've got a stomach ache or whatever. And the people had taken this concept of polytheistic paganism, and through syncretism have just kind of painted a Christian, well, we're not really praying to different gods, we're praying to different saints, so it's okay, right? We're not really worshiping them, we're just venerating them, so it's okay. A distinction without a difference. So this is unfortunately, this is a problem. And that's not what happened with Christmas, and that's not what happened with Easter. Easter is not just we take a pagan celebration and slap a cross on it. Christmas is not just we take a pagan celebration and slap baby Jesus on it, but rather they are distinct Christian celebrations of specific things. In the book of Acts, it talks about the disciples meeting together on the first day of the week because this is when the resurrection happened. If you're wondering why we don't worship on Saturdays and we worship on Sundays, we don't worship on the Sabbath. Sabbath is Saturday. We worship on Sunday because Easter happened on Sunday. We're not copying a pagan myth. We're just following what's in the Bible. We have a tradition that developed from what was in the Bible. The same thing with Christmas. The reason Christmas is on December 25th is not because Mithras was born on December 25th or Osiris was born on December 25th, but rather because December 25th is exactly 9 months after, do you know what day? No? What happens 9 months before? The Annunciation. The Festival of the Annunciation is on March 25th. So that means March 25th plus 9 months equals Christmas. Easy math. It's got nothing to do with any pagan celebrations. It's just the fact that we took 9 months after the Annunciation. Now, could Christmas have happened, or could the birth of Christ have happened in December? Sure. People say, will there be sheep out in the field in the middle of the winter? Well, it didn't get that cold this year, so who knows what the climate was like back then. Besides, the sheep had to be somewhere. In any case, there's a lot of myths about Easter and Christmas, and every sort of year this comes up that people say, well, it's just a pagan celebration. It's not. And it's not the same as the syncretism that we see in Central and South America, really all over the world, unfortunately. You see this a lot in Africa as well with a lot of the African missionaries. They go in and they have to deal with the missionaries who were there before them, the missionaries who didn't get rid of the pagan kind of witchcraft stuff going on and just painted Christianity over it. They said, these gods that you worship, they're really just saints. So you thought you were worshiping the God of the harvest. You were really worshiping St. Joseph, the Old Testament St. Joseph, the god of, the patron saint of good crops or whatever. But yeah, and it ends up being harder to kind of rip out that root because now you have to say, well, no. Everything you've been taught about Christianity is false. We have to start from square one. This was a difficulty that my father had and many other missionaries had in Panama, is because the local Panamanian pagan religions were tritheistic. They had the Holy Father, the Holy Mother, and the Holy Son. Well, the Roman Catholic missionaries who came before there, they didn't want to bother saying, all of this stuff that you guys have been worshiping, these carved statues and stuff, this is wrong, get rid of it. Instead, they said, okay, you've already got three. How about we change the name of them to the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit? There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. You've got Christianity now. Keep all of your paganism, keep all of your statues. It's all the exact same, but now we're just giving you the true name of the things you've been worshiping the whole time. Yes, ma'am?
So can this be taken a step further that this is Satanistic? Use like St. Joseph and St. this.
Yes, well here's the question. Is it satanic to worship anybody but God? Satanistic. I'm not sure. So.
Satanistic, satanic, Satan.
Of Satan, yeah. So I would say you can say satanic, or you can say it is actually anti-Christ, because any of this behavior is taking your focus off of God. And what was Satan's temptation to Jesus in the wilderness? His final temptation. Bow down and worship me. And this is what he tries to do. And Satan doesn't need to get you to worship him by name. He just needs you to stop worshiping Jesus. That's his goal. He doesn't need you to do a 180 degree and start worshiping him. As long as you miss the mark, you're good. And you're not going to be saved as long as he can get you away from salvation. That's his goal. And this is unfortunately how a lot of the demonic forces kind of work. Is they say, well, what if instead of talking to Jesus, what if instead of, and this is not an accusation against Roman Catholics writ large, but this is a danger of some of the practices, is if you don't go to Jesus for your problems, if you don't go to God for your problems, and instead you've got a patron saint list, you pray to literally anybody else except for God on a regular basis, then the devil is succeeding in getting you to stop trusting in God to solve your problems and instead trusting in, holy people. Like imagine if you're praying to Moses. Imagine if the Israelites in the Old Testament, they bowed down and they worshiped Moses and Aaron instead of God. That would not be a good thing. Even if they were good, holy people, even if they were God's people, as long as the worship is not directed towards God, it is not a good thing. Or a bronze serpent. Yeah, if the bronze serpent ceases to be something that points them to God, and instead the bronze serpent itself becomes their God, then it's time for Hezekiah to come in and smash it to pieces. Yeah. So this is the danger. It's not just, we have Christianity, but we've also got the pantheon of saints. It's like, at a certain point, and I don't know where that point is, but at a certain point you cross over this line where you're no longer trusting in God, and now you're trusting in these people. Now they may be in heaven, they may be wonderful holy saints. Guys, knock it off. But completely derailed me. But you're not trusting in God. Yes, ma'am. It doesn't. Is it better to consider something anti-Christ, anti-Christian, pagan? It depends on who you're talking with, is what I would say. I'd say anything that points away from God essentially helps Satan succeed. But if you're talking to a friend, or you're talking to somebody who's saying, hey, I'm Roman Catholic, I sometimes I pray to the saints to ask them for favors and stuff, you probably don't want to come straight out of the gate swinging and say, you're praying to the devil. Like, you don't want to say, you are furthering Satan's demands. I mean, Martin Luther would do that, but there's some tact to speak the truth in love. So if somebody's saying, rather than saying that, say, are you trusting something more than God? Is this something that you should be asking God instead, and kind of by degrees kind of work towards the truth? The reason, because at this point in our current day and age, when we hear the term satanic, like we think about cowls and pentagrams and like people specifically worshiping a red horn pitchfork wielding Satan, and it's this like crazy image. Whereas back in the day, Martin Luther's day, if you could say, hey, if you're departing from the true faith, you are actually going along Satan's path instead. But I would just say, it's not that it's not true, but it's not the best language to use in a lot of situations. Now, if you're arguing with a pastor, just remember Jesus' tact. When he's arguing with the Pharisees, he is brutal. When he's disagreeing with a person who maybe doesn't know better, he is soft, he is gentle, he is leading them. The woman at the well, for example, he doesn't come in and say, wham, you should know better, you whitewashed tomb, you brood of vipers, you yada, yada, yada. He doesn't do that with her. Him and John the Baptist do that with the Pharisees because they should know better. But with her, he asks her questions to lead her along to the truth. So I would say that's the reason why you might want to hesitate to use the word satanic. What was that? Satanistic, yes. I haven't heard the term satanistic.
Satanic, I think of the whole stuff that you said.
Right. So satanistic, that might make you like think about it more a little bit. Yeah. Yes, sir. You had
I was just going to say, for me, it's just my way I think is, it's against the Ten Commandments. I don't even think about Satan in it, but
Yeah.
if I were arguing with somebody who's also a Christian,
Yeah.
he's probably more bound to understand that what's written in the...
Right. That could shut off the conversation if you say you're actually following Satan versus God told you to have no other gods before him. What does it mean to have another God? Well, Luther says anytime you trust in anything more than God, then that becomes your God. If you trust in money, you don't have to literally bow down before it and physically worship it, but it can become your God in a way that you trust in it more. This is what, James 3:1 says, not many of you should become teachers. And then elsewhere, I think it talks about the teachers are judged, are held to a higher standard. Him to whom much is given, much will be required. In the Bible, we are specifically told to speak the truth in love, and this is even more delicate as a pastor or a teacher or somebody who's dedicated to theology. If you are the theology person, the theology guy, even if you're not an ordained pastor, even if you're speaking kind of authoritatively on theology, in addition to speaking the truth, it's extreme. Speaking the truth is easy. I can speak the truth so rudely. The difficult part is the speak the truth in love part, the in love part, because not everybody needs the hammer. Some need the scalpel. Yes.
Also, if I'm arguing that's Satanistic, I'm also saying that I understand what's going on in your head.
That too, yeah. So this is the approach that I would take in a situation like that. Is rather than I'm sure Robin might know this. Inductive reasoning versus deductive reasoning. So one of them, I forget which, you have the conclusion first. Is that inductive? Do you remember? So one, I think it's inductive. And you can do this as a sermon style as well. It's a writing style. And it's a logical approach where you say, this car is purple. I will prove to you the car is purple. Look at all of these pictures. Versus an inductive or deductive reasoning would be, here's one picture of the car. Here's another picture of the car. Here it is in the light. Here it is in the dark. What color is the car? The car is purple. So one of them, you lead them along, and this is, again, this might be easier to do with somebody. You have to be able to judge. You have to be able to judge their ability to follow the reason. You might want to say, okay, so what are you doing? Are you praying? Is prayer worship? Does God say anything about who can be worshipped or what can be worshipped? And you lead them along eventually until this point. And this is the success that my father was able to have in Panama, is he could have come in and saying, hey, you know all of those like little carved wooden idols that you guys have? Those are all literal idols, like bow down and worship them idols. Instead, what he had done is he was teaching over the course of 2 years the Kuna Indians. And he would teach them about what is idolatry and who is God and what is worship and who can you worship, this sort of thing. And eventually one of them stood up in one of their kind of prayer meetings, Bible studies, says, and this guy stood up, one of the members of the tribe stood up and says, gentlemen, what we have under our beds is an idol. He was brought to the conclusion, and because he was the one who came to the conclusion, rather than being dragged by the nose to it, he realized, oh, this is an idol. We should all destroy it. And because he was within the tribe, it carried more weight than if an outside missionary came in and said, all these things are idols, destroy them immediately. I'll tell you why later. So there's different approaches that need to be taken. Yes, sir.
So he quit something because he actually wanted to quit it instead of being told, you have this problem.
Right. So imagine, for example, somebody wanted to quit smoking, or you wanted to get somebody to quit smoking. You could run up to them and say, you quit smoking right now.
Right now. It's bad.
I'll tell you why later. But if you instead say, okay, well, here is what smoking does to the lungs. Here's what it does to the heart. Here's what it does to this. Here's what it does to the teeth. Here's what it does to the breath. Here's what, et cetera. And somebody says, okay, maybe I should quit smoking. And they come to that conclusion. So again, inductive versus deductive. Which one do you give them the conclusion first or the conclusion afterwards?
My mom married my stepdad. She said, you quit smoking or you don't marry me.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, logically figure that one out. Yeah. And occasionally, if my sermons are actually structured properly, occasionally you'll see inductive versus deductive. I usually break it down into 3 points because I love the rule of three. I like to think that my sermons are very technical under the hood, but they're probably not. But this is something that they taught us how to do inductive versus deductive versus. There's like 16 different types of sermons that we learned how to do. And I only do like 3 of them because everything else is just so crazy. Just kind of leads, like there's one that you kind of go through a whole storyline and the entire sermon is a parable and it eventually gets to the point. And maybe once in a while, but I think having that every week would get annoying and stale pretty quickly. Anyways, any other Any other things we want to talk about before we get into Exodus?
You're in Exodus.
Theoretically, we were in Exodus. I don't know that we're ever going to get through it, but that's okay, because I like talking about these things too.
Jews thought that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some of them didn't get through it. Some of them died in the wilderness. Yeah. They all, the first generation all completely died. They didn't make it through Exodus. Okay, let's see. What have we done? Tabernacle, oil for the lamp. I think we're on Exodus chapter 28. That's what I have, unless somebody else has something different. Court of the tabernacle, well, altar. Did the bronze altar.
26 for sure.
Yes, we did the tabernacle. Yeah, okay, so there, I'm pretty sure we did 27 as well, because we talked about the altar. The oil for the lamp. All right, chapter 28, the priest's garments. Then bring near to you Aaron, your brother, so he's talking to Moses, and his sons with him from among the people of Israel to serve me as priests. Aaron and Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar, and you shall make holy garments for Aaron, your brother, for glory and for beauty. You shall speak to all the skillful, whom I have filled with the spirit of the skill, that they make Aaron's garments to consecrate him for my priesthood. I'm going to pause there real quick. There's a couple of interesting things here. This is one of the passages that we can point to for artistry and beauty coming from God. Skill that you have at your job, whether it's an artistic job or a technical job or whatever, thanks be to God that He's the one who gives you that ability, and you can use that to His glory, whatever kind of job you have. Another thing to consider here, in the Lutheran Church, in the Catholic Church, in the Anglican Church, in the Eastern Orthodox Church, we steal from the Old Testament. The priest's garments in the Old Testament are specifically made for two things. They're made for glory and beauty. Not for the priest's glory, but for the glory of God and for beauty, to remind you that something special, something precious is happening. This is one of the reasons why my garments, not this right here, this isn't particularly fancy, but why I have my holy poncho, I have my stole, why you can get so fancy with the garments that you have. It's not because the priest, or the pastor in this case, is vain, or shouldn't be because the pastor is vain, but rather because all this fancy stuff up here reminds us that it's beautiful, it's good. It's something that we want to rejoice in. It's something that has value. Yes, sir?
You've also used the terms camouflage.
Camouflage, yes, that too. So my clothing should camouflage me in with the glorious things happening at the altar and up here as well. Did you have something? Okay, so this is why we have all this shiny stuff, because something special, something precious, something holy, something beautiful is going on here. This is also one of the arguments, where's my soapbox? Let me put the soapbox down here, climb on it. This is one of the arguments I have against contemporary worship styles and dress. And that video is coming out on Monday, the ASMR preaching video.
Oh, yes.
So one of the arguments that I have is that a lot of contemporary styles of worship and music and everything are trying to make things common. What do you commonly hear on the radio? Let's have that kind of music in church. How do you commonly dress? Let's dress like that in church. Let's put the pastor in a t-shirt and skinny jeans. Let's do everything to make none of this special. Because right now, even if you walked in and you had never seen anything in Christianity in your entire life, if you walked in and you saw that shiny stuff there on the altar, you would say that something special is going on. And if you walked into the middle of the service and you heard me chanting, who chants? Who even does that anymore? Nobody, unless you're in a Disney musical, nobody walks around singing things. Yes. So me chanting, you sing things, me chanting is an indicator that something is going on. And we kind of like, if you hear somebody chanting, it can be a different language, the Monty Python. It can be a different language. It can be a different tone that you're used to. But if you hear somebody chanting, if you hear a Buddhist monk chanting, something instinctively in your head says, this is religious, what's going on. Now, it's not Christian, but there's something going on that he's trying to communicate spiritually. So when you come into a service and the pastor is wearing clothes, a uniform. This is a uniform. This isn't fancy. This is a uniform. The pastor is wearing a uniform. or the pastor is wearing vestments that are pretty, or the paraments are pretty, or the stuff on the altar is pretty, or the stuff is shiny, or it's gold, or it's silver, or it's whatever. It's the best that your church can provide. If you live in the middle of the Amazon rainforest and you have some logs and a nice swept area, then that looks different than the rest because you're trying to say something special, something valuable, something precious and beautiful and holy is going on here. It's what you see, it's in what you do, all this genuflecting and bowing and crossing yourself and the little symbols that I make with my hands. That's not just random symbols. All of these are for something different. You know, when I'm blessing you, I'll make this symbol. You can't really see it. I'll have to show you a diagram. And this symbol is a traditional symbol that's used for blessing because in theory the different configurations of the finger spell out the word Christ. So there's an X here for Christos. This is supposed to be a rho, the R sound. So you can this spells out the word Christ. When I'm crossing you, I'm blessing you with the name of Christ. And when I face you, this is I know it's the Vulcan salute, but this is also a traditional. This is a posture of blessing. When I'm crossing you, when I'm blessing you like this, everything that should be done, everything that should be worn, everything that should be sung and chanted and spoken, and the procession of the cross, the shape of the baptismal font, everything in here that is special and different and not like it is in every other building is on purpose. And in here in Exodus, this is the reason we do it. Because it's to give glory to God. It's something different. If you walk into a church and it looks like a dentist's office, if it looks like a general cubicle office space, why would you think anything special is going on in there? So that's one reason why I firmly oppose contemporary worship style and design and spaces. Because the goal is to make it look ordinary. And this is not ordinary. And you guys are not ordinary. On Sunday morning, when you come in, you're not just some people. You are God's children coming in. So when God's children come in, you guys are different. You are set apart. You are a priesthood of all believers. You are bought by the sacrifice of Christ. And you are in the middle of something special and something holy. And it should look like that and it should sound like that. People should have no confusion when they walk in that something special is happening here, which is why I don't dress in t-shirt and skinny jeans, which is why I wear a uniform if it makes me look weird, to the glory of God, because it's not about me. That's why. So contemporary worship is bad, soapbox. I'm just going to place it over here. You can file your complaints to my circuit visitor. But that's why. This is an Exodus. We're literally just stealing from the Bible, because if in the Bible God says that the priests need to be clothed in something that indicates the glory of God and the beauty of the office, how much more should the priesthood of all believers have something precious and holy and wonderful and special and different for their Sunday morning service? What we have is better than what they had back here. Tabernacle, as shiny as it was, we got better. Jesus is our tabernacle, and he dwells with us. We don't have to go to a tabernacle. He comes to us. Anyways, yeah, 3 cups of coffee.
Very, very loud.
Yeah, well, you know.
Very, very emotional.
My soapbox in contemporary worship is growing year by year because I've seen where it leads, and it's fighting upstream to fight against it. I don't. The word adiaphora is used. That means it's neither commanded nor forbidden in Scripture. The Bible doesn't say that you have to have a worship space set up like this. But what is the conclusion of what we believe? If we believe that this is special, what would we make it look like? A concert. Well, there's enough concerts out there. I mean, concerts aren't as special as... We can make it look better than a concert. Because which is better, the Lord's Supper or a concert?
The Lord's Supper.
The Lord's Supper. So...
Or you do the concert and the Lord's Supper. You do
Nah.
the best of both.
Okay, let's see if we can get through a couple of verses. All right, verse 4. These are the garments that they shall make. A breastpiece, an ephod. And you're going to probably have, I'm going to see if they have a picture on the next. No, there's a bunch of, you've seen these pictures where they've got this shiny kind of like different colored gems. So just imagine that. A breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a coat of checker work, a turban, and a sash. I want a turban. They shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother and his sons to serve me as priests. They shall receive gold and blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twined linen, or twinned linen. Verse 6, and they shall make an ephod of gold, of blue and of purple scarlet yarns, of fine twinned linen and skillfully worked. It shall have 2 shoulder pieces to attach to its edges, that it may join together. And the skillfully woven band on it shall be made like it, and be of one piece, of gold, blue, and purple scarlet yarns, with fine twinned linen. You shall make 2 onyx stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel. 6 of their names on one stone, and the names of the remaining 6 on the other stone, in the order of their birth. As the jewelers engrave signets, so shall you engrave the 2 stones with the name of the sons of Israel. You shall enclose them in settings of gold filigree. You shall set 2 stones on the shoulder pieces of the ephod as stones of remembrance for the sons of Israel. And Aaron shall bear the names before you, the Lord on his 2 shoulders for remembrance. You shall make settings of gold filigree, and 2 chains of pure gold twisted like cords, and you shall attach the cords chained to the settings. You shall make a breastpiece of judgment in skilled work. In the style of the ephod you shall make it of gold and blue and purple and scarlet yarns. Fine twinned linen you shall make it. It shall be square and doubled, a span its length and a span its breadth. You shall set it in its row 4 stones. A row of sardius, topaz, carbuncle shall be the first row. The second, emerald, a sapphire, and diamond. The third, jacinth, and agate, and amethyst. And the 4th row, beryl, onyx, and jasper. They shall be set in gold filigree. There shall be 12 stones with the names according to the names of the sons of Israel. They shall be like signets, each engraved with its name for the 12 tribes. You shall make for the breastpiece twisted chains like cord of pure gold. You shall make for the breastpiece 2 rings of gold, and put the 2 rings on the 2 edges of the breastpiece. And you shall put the 2 cords of gold and 2 rings on the edge of the breastpiece. The 2 ends of the cord you shall attach to the 2 settings of filigree. You shall attach it to the front of the shoulder pieces of the ephod. You shall make the 2 rings of gold and put them at the 2 ends of the breastpiece and the inside next to the edge of the ephod. You shall make the 2 rings of gold and attach them in front of the lower part of the 2 shoulder pieces of ephod. As its seam above the skillfully woven band of the ephod, they shall bind the breastpiece with rings, the rings of the ephod with a lace of blue, so that it may lie skillfully woven band on the ephod, so that the breastpiece should not come loose from the ephod. So Aaron shall bear the names of the sons of Israel and the breastpiece of judgment on his heart when he goes into the holy place, to bring them to regular remembrance before the Lord. And the breastpiece of judgment you shall put under the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be on Aaron's heart. Then he goes before the Lord. Thus Aaron shall bear the judgment of the people of Israel on his heart before the Lord regularly. So this describes a really ornate chest piece. Well, the garment that he's wearing first, but then there's a chest piece. And on the chest piece, you've got the 12 stones, and they represent the 12 tribes of Israel. On Aaron's heart, this is called the breastpiece of judgment. Their judgment is brought before the Lord, and the Lord remembers them. They are, what is the phrase that's used? A regular remembrance before the Lord. Keep in mind this phrase, remembrance, when Jesus is talking about the Lord's Supper. Do this in remembrance of me. This is not remembering something distant, but this is connecting it to the now. So when Aaron wears this breastpiece in front of the Lord, his judgment over the 12 tribes will be passed onto the sacrifice. So the 12 tribes, these are the ones who are going to be forgiven for the sacrifice. So the names of the 12 tribes are presented. So anyways, it's a fancy garment. It's a fancy garment. Everything about the garment, it may be precious stones and gold and all this other stuff, but it means something. Some of it is just for beauty. Some of them is specifically, it talks specifically, it calls it the breastplate of judgment. And it has the 12 tribes being symbolized, and then 6 tribes on each shoulder as well. So it should serve a purpose. It should be beautiful. It should be skillfully made. So we steal this idea when we make church stuff. We like making church stuff fancy. This is not, I don't know if you've seen the chalice up close. This is not a bargain bin chalice. This was made in Spain. It's gold, it's silver. It is wonderfully made. It is very artfully crafted. It was a gift from some members of the congregation. Thanks be to God for that. And it wasn't a waste. We are doing what they did in the Old Testament. We are glorifying God with the things that we use in his service to us. So with that, let's close with the doxology.